Hey guys, it's just me, Barry, with forgot my own name, Barry with Barry's 8-track and classic car radio repair. And this unit is from Jim in Hadley, Massachusetts. It's an Akai GXR-82D, one of the best tape decks ever manufactured. Anything, the high-end Akais are built like Sherman tanks, and you can tell by picking them up. These things are just massively constructed. Great, well-built machines. The only thing I don't like about them, and this is something that a lot of people might like, is the fact that there is some tone enhancement circuitry in this. This unit sounds remarkably robust and full range. For an 8-track deck. Only problem is 8-track tapes, you don't necessarily want to hear everything that's on an 8-track tape. I myself, I prefer a little bit less bass. Because 8-tracks tend to lose treble over the years, and they didn't have a whole lot of treble to begin with. Over the years, they naturally lose treble. Each time they're played, it sheds just a little bit more oxide, and you gradually lose that treble. So these days, I actually prefer the sound of the cheaper decks, which tend to sound brighter than the high-end Akais. And these are great machines. If you have a graphic equalizer, and know how to set them, I would actually recommend running this through a graphic equalizer, dipping it about 6 decibels at about 250 hertz. Dip about 3 decibels at 500 hertz. Maybe give it a 6 dB boost at about 4K. And a 3D boost at 2K. That'll make it sound more like a regular tape deck. It'll make it sound a little bit more like a CD player, if the 8-track can be said to sound like a CD player. But I'm just talking about overall sound response. They designed quite a bit of bass into the Akai, the high-end Akai decks, which I don't particularly care for. And you might notice on this video that, it sounds great. I'm not saying it sounds bad. It's just that I have produced an album, and so I'm a little bit more into working with the raw signals and adding what I want to add to them instead of the factory saying, well, you need this much more bass and all this stuff. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to stop yapping here. We're just going to pop a tape in here and make sure it sounds good. Now, the left VU meter is bad on this unit. There's nothing we can do about that. This came in with with one channel completely out, so we have restored the sound on both channels. So here we go. Helps turn it on too. It makes a huge difference in how it operates. Now let's look at our output level meters. Make sure we got both speakers. Okay, gonna switch tracks a bunch of times. Now on this song, you're going to hear test tones and dropouts. Okay, there's a test tone. Okay. As I mentioned before, sometimes I use test signals to troubleshoot an 8-track player, and it ends up getting recorded onto the tape I'm using to test it with. So you might notice this deck sounds, it's got a nice, well-rounded, produced, that's the word that I use for it, is it's got a little bit too much of a produced sound for my taste. Now, for the guy who doesn't know the difference, the guy who likes a lot of bass, or who just enjoys the overall warmth, because this is a very warm-sounding deck, it might be perfect. Myself, I just kind of go for a little bit more brightness. In my opinion, the added bass tends to overshadow the brightness, and it definitely takes out some of the overall punch. I like that mid-range punch. When the guitar, bass, and bass drum are cracking all down at the same time, you get that punch. I like that. I like to be able to hear the hi-hat, in the verses, which is usually buried pretty deep in the mix. You tend to lose a little bit of that unless you make a little bit of a tonal adjustment after the signal comes out of the unit. As I mentioned before, just cut the lows a little bit, dip the high mids some, completely cut down the 16K. There's no musical information on 16K. All there is noise and hiss. There's nothing useful at 16K. Just turn that slider all the way down. on both channels on the 16K. So anyway, we've demonstrated that the unit has been repaired to where both channels operate. It sounds great. Depending on who you talk to. I mean, I think it sounds great. I just kind of don't go for a great sound all the time. I like a little bit less bass, a little bit more mid-range balls, a little bit more high-end definition. And this unit does have that. You just need to filter out a little bit of some of the bass to really be able to get the full experience. So let's go ahead and pop another tape in here. Herb Alpert, which this can be kind of tricky because it was really emphasized as a stereo effect. These early stereo recordings, they really did a lot to emphasize the stereo effect. By that I mean they put like one instrument only on the right channel, some instrument only on the left channel. So there's frequent times between or during songs that there's nothing at all on one side. So that can be kind of confusing. That's why we tested it with a tape that has both sides constantly playing. So now we'll pop some Herb in here. He's the last guy that I've seen in concert, by the way. Okay, just coming up on the end of a channel here, so we might switch channels automatically, or we'll just go to the next song on the same track. Looks like it's probably going to switch tracks pretty soon. That's quite a pause for there not to be a track change, so we'll just wait and see what it's going to do. There it goes. It's switched to track 1. So we're going to hear the Lonely Bull. And here we go. That's only on one side. Nothing but one side until right now. I've had this recording since I was 5 years old, so I'm pretty familiar with it. In fact, Herb Alpert played all the instruments and recorded this entire album by himself. Oh, no, he did hire some external musicians. Okay, now I'm going to pull her out, and she's pretty well demonstrated and sounding good and working properly and all that stuff. So I'm out of here. I'm going to get on to my next task, whatever that might be. I'm Barry with Barry's 8-Track and Classic Car Radio Repair, and I do have a lot of respect for the Akai, the high-end Akai units. I just don't really care for the produced sound. I prefer to do the production myself. Just give me the raw signal, and I'll add what I want according to my taste. If this were part of my, if I owned a musical stereo system, I really don't listen to music. I've been a musician for years and years. I've just got this constant jukebox that never shuts off. But if I were to have a home stereo system, I would most likely put this through an equalizer to dip out some of that high, some of the bass and just a little bit of the low mids, balance out the signal a little bit more, restore some of that punch in brightness and crispness. So, on that happy note, I'm Barry with Barry's 8-Track and Classic Car Radio Repair. I also do FM conversions on classic car radios between roughly 1945 and 1980. Nothing newer than 1980, please, or on anything. My number for repair customers only is 928-533-9666. My website's in the description below. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you guys next time.